Hello everyone and welcome back to Blood Rush League Losers Bracket Round 1. Today we have Rushes versus Aashura with a Hong playing for Rushes, killing first. We've got a very interesting matchup here today. I've got my co-caster Ghosty with me. Hello Ghosty, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Jen. I'm very excited today. Always loved a good blight set in that, especially with a very early tag on Jake here and that. It seems like he's going for a very intense and quick start here, so I'm excited to see where he takes it from here, especially with a quick transition into Fang here and that along the backside of main and that. I'm very excited about this and the usual high-speed gameplay by Blights, with a firecracker being dropped, unfortunate miss there, and Fang ends up going down very, very quickly. A great start for a Hong here and that. I have noticed though a bit of a loss in value was corrupt. With such an early down, didn't get too much time with those generators blocked, but with a quick down like that, how could you pass something like that off? And also the injury being healed, so a nice little quick reset by the team here and that. Finding Claudette here and that for our next chase here, so very strong and high speed start here by a Hong here. Seems to be looking to go back to his hook there just to make sure that no free unhook happens in that. Maybe secure a nice little tunnel out here since they do get it before the second stage. A four that people play on Fang here just to make that tunnel out a bit more difficult and a bit more time consuming. Very well done there by Jake. And we're taking into this next little filler palette it looks here. Blight doing his good old back and forth 50-50 plays here around the palette. Very good greed there by Fang. Looks to be wrapping around towards the mid sort of area of the map. Very strong tile here and that with the pallet there. Great pallet stun by Fang as well. Blight choosing to not continue the chase there. Maybe going back towards for the people. Ah, no, finds the ace who pops the gen here for our first gen being done here and that. Gets a nice little tag here, but looks to be going back towards our for the people slug to see if they can maybe pick up some pressure on the backside of main again. Check on some gens and see where he takes from here. Looks like we may have a comp corner play here on Claudette. Not a bad move here. Try and pull the blight away from the generators, giving her team a chance to really get some gen progress here, but against a high mobility killer like Blight, probably not as much time can be pulled off from this, since Blight can usually get straight back into things. Back into this mid section at the front of main. Found some scratch marks here. Finding our ace here in the mid section. Not committing to him though, so maybe wants to apply that pressure down onto some of the other survivors in that. Ace looking like a next tag coming through in that. We'll have to see if he decides to go back to his slug in that, if not commits to the ace here in that. Finds the Fang in this little back corner of the map as well for another tag. It's been a very strong start for a Hong here in that. What are your thoughts, Jen, so far on the matchup so far? It seems like a very good amount of pressure's been laid down, and he's been managing these downs with injuries very well.
Absolutely. And as we know, a little bit of a fun fact for our viewers, just in case our viewers aren't actually aware. Rushes are actually very new team. So this is their first ever tournament as a team together. And being matched up against Aashura, as we know, Aashura is an extremely strong EU team. And Russia's are SEA and OCE. So the ping difference could potentially also cause a few issues. But as we see, Hong has managed to get two downs here. So we've got two people on the ground at the moment. The other two survivors are both healthy. Now Jake was able to be picked up. Fung is back on the hook, and Jake is once again back down on the ground. This pressure so far has actually been really quite great. A Hong has found Claudette. Ooh, very good dodge by Claudette, hugging the wall of Shack there to actually deny our blight of the tag. And a locker play to once again deny another tag potential. But unfortunately, going into the mid vault there. What do you feel about the mid vault? As we know, like mid vault for survivors, it happens to the best of us.
It is honestly a curse in that with this game, you feel like those moments of like, I swear that should have been a fast vault, but it comes up at the worst times in that 9 times out of 10. It's always a definite feels bad sort of moment where it can just cost you so much momentum in that. But the team have done very, very well so far, managing all this pressure that Ahong has been putting down in that with a third slug going down. But I believe that one of those was a plot twist play, so we may have a full health survivor coming back up very soon, which will be very, very good for the team here on that. I'm interested to see if Ahong does commit to picking up any more of the slugs here. Plot twist has come through, so our Fang has got a full recovery here, which is a great play for the team in that. Ruin does seem to be doing some pretty heavy work here in that, keeping these generators a bit low. This back main gen seems to have a bit of progress, but with no one here in that, that's just going to slowly regress. Fang being found as well in that, trying to get some more progress on that corner gen. We'll have to see how much time she can buy for her team. 2 resets have come through, so they have managed to get themselves back from a 3 slug situation, even though one was plot twist, back to at least all 4 survivors up. Jake being healed now, so they have now at least 2 full health survivors, which is very good from here. Probably something that they really need, but it seems like that was all the time that Fang could buy for her team, which is still a brilliant performance in that. Giving her team a chance to fully get back up so they weren't in that very detrimental 3 slug situation that. And a final reset on Claudette, so we have 3 healthy survivors moving forward into the 3v1. I'll be interested to see if they're able to manage to get some more gens done with Ruin still being up and a Hong putting down so much pressure. A beautiful, beautiful pallet stun there by Claudette. Always nice to not get those unfortunate hits through the pallet, especially with Ping in play here. I feel like the team is managing very well with the amount of pressure that Ahong is putting down in that. Decides to leave Claudette there, leave her in a nice injured state, just see if he can apply some more pressure, check on this back corner gen, which sounded like to have really good progress. An unfortunate miss there on Ace, almost predicted going through that window vault, very well played in that. Doesn't seem like a tag, we come through with a nice drop on the pallet, revolts it, but will unfortunately get tagged here. Claudette has been healed, so we do have 2 healthy survivors again. Does he get the vault? Nope, the medium vault curse has come through again. I don't think it is possible to fast vault that window, but with a blight with that door pre-open, there wasn't really much more options for Ace there to do. So I believe our blight knows where most of the survivors are at this point. Finding what I think is Jake. Yes, Jake here. Ace being left, another tag onto Jake there, so I would presume that Claudette might be picking up. Yep, there it is. Will he commit to the chase on Jake? Nope, looks to be returning to where the Claudette and Ace were. Trying to apply some more pressure in that back section of main there.
Very quick reset happened just there on the ace as well. So now Jake is the only injured survivor. Um, so our Blight Hong knows that the last time he saw Jake was up around edge map behind Shack there. We find Claudette in our 4 lane. Oh, very good dodges around the trees.
Very well played as well to get those very quick bumps as well in such a tight little spot with the trees so close as they were in that. And another slug down on the ground in that. Ahong knows that there's one slug definitely not doing anything. Unsure if they might be looking at a reset on Jake here since they probably do need health. No, we have Ace in the back corner now back into chase, so it's now a question of does Claudette get the pickup on or does Jake get the pickup on the Claudette, which he does, so that's at least all 3 members of the team back up. Losing this pallet here in the back filler, so there's not really much more for our Ace to really play around here, so he will also be going down onto the ground again. And with the pickup and resets happening with Jake and Claudette, Ahong would probably have a reasonably good idea of where the last 2 survivors are. Finding the Jake here, what play to get rid of that pallet as well, not risking going around for that hit and risking the pallet vault there. Looks like Jake's going back around to main. does find a Claudette who's injured as well here. What are your thoughts, Jen, on this immense pressure that Ahong's built up, and with a second slug, this could be the end of this round.
Yeah, potentially, like, oh, beautiful, beautiful protection here there. Jake able to pick back up Demon. Um, Ahong actually had some pretty good pressure just then, having two on the ground, having to try and find the only healthy survivor, which was Jake. But now it looks like, by the looks of things, we are going to have three slugs down at 4 gens. This could potentially be a 4K at 4 gens, unless one of the survivors for Aashura might have deliverance. Could there potentially be a deli play come in here?
If it does, it will be the one way to bring this game back to Aashura's side. I hope that they do, because it would be a great way to try and bring things back in that. Maybe try and get one more gen done, even though with Ruin up, it will be very difficult to try and apply the pressure back in that with a deli play coming through, but I don't think there might be coming one. We have to hope that it does. With all three survivors now being put onto the hooks and that, it looks like this might be the end of our first round with a 4K at 4. And with very close hooks, our Blight Ahong here can rotate between the hooks pretty quickly, so a very fast and explosive first round for these sets. I always enjoy our Blight games in that. You always know that they're going to be very high intensity, and Ashura honestly did a very good performance here. Still being kind of the underdogs of the set, I think they performed very well against this sort of immense pressure, with Ruin being up as well to regress what pressure they did have on the gens. I'm excited to see where they take things going into the second round on that. There's our first second stage in that coming through on that. We'll see if we do have a potential deli play coming through, which I hope that they do, but a very strong performance by both teams to start things off in that. And going to the second match, I'm very interested to see how Ashura's killer takes it with a very high win con being made here on that, needing a 4K at 5. I believe that we do not have a deli play here with the last of the hook timers coming through on that, so I believe this may be the end of our first round here. And
And
there it is.
that secures the 4K4. So, but as we know, Ashura, they are a very strong team. They have been in the competitive scene for many moons, so they have very good potential to possibly actually bring this back to being, maybe being able to get a 4K5 in our next match. But stick with us. We will be back after a very short intermission and seeing how Ashura play on Killer in match 2 of set 1. Hello everyone and welcome back to the second match of set 1. We currently have Albatross killing for Ashura now. So as we know, they do have a little bit of a steep win con, with the win con potentially being a 4K5, which could be quite tough. But as we know, Ashura are a very strong team. Albatross does have the possibility to be able to make this happen. How do you feel that Russia's survivors are going to go for this set, Ghosty?
I feel like with a very strong performance by Ahong in the previous game, they're going to be very much probably looking at getting that gem pressure up very early on. Probably not going for pickups as much, depending on how long the chases go, with a quick down on Fang here and that to start us off with and that. So they may foretour hook stages just to try and smash out those generators and hit that win con with it being so steep. We'll have to see if this hook leads into our second down early and if Albatross can push the survivors off the generators. No, it looks like they're sticking out the main gen for the first one to pop. Second down goes through. Do we see that first generator main pop? We do, so a very good start here by Aashura. Looks to be leaving our Claudette Slugs to continue on to... Oh, I've lost the track of the name of that slug. I barely see them in that. I'm sorry.
So that was Zarina.
I barely see Zarenas in my games, and that is one of the only survivors that I'll ever forget the name of in that. And it looks like our Alan's kind of looking around, trying not to deny that fourth down that would potentially lead it to a tiebreaker. With unknown if we have an unbreakable play, we have the generator by logs regressing here. Alan does get the pull on Fang here, so I believe we probably will get some resets happening in the main. Alan has been found for a tag here and that, so we'll be having to see if Fang manages to get those two early slugs back up in that. It looks like Albatross is deciding not to commit to denying Fang the pickups and just downs our Alan here, so that may be the pickups that Aashura needed here in a moment. Coming on this backside, we do have our first slug being picked up here. And looks like the chase will be taken possibly around the front side here. The second slug on Zarina being picked up here as well. And Alan gets picked up as well. So we have all four survivors being picked back up. Alan is going to go down here again, but it looks like the Wincom may potentially be hit here soon with three survivors around, potentially getting some gen progress happening in that. Claudette being found by the log generator here. Getting some progress on that generator and that while the others are around. I'll be interested to see if he does go for the pick up on... Oh no, the Alamate gets picked up here and a good grab on Claudette there by the window. The nasty medium Volt Curse coming through again.
That could have potentially also been a little bit of a ping problem there too, because if I'm not mistaken, the Claudette is the OCE survivor for this set. So yeah, the Claudette is dealing with that little bit extra ping compared to the rest of her teammates.
And I remember my time when I had my first ever introduction into the competitive setting. I was in a similar situation with having to play on NA ping, which was a very rough way to be introduced into competitive gameplay, but it was still a fun day regardless. It's always fun versing these teams in that, testing your limits in that, and seeing what performance you can make in that. But I do agree that I feel like ping may have been the unfortunate cost of Claudette's grabbed us there. We do have a full reset on Alan here, so we at least have one healthy survivor here in that. Claudette being still down towards the midsection. It looks like Claudette's now been reset, so we do know that two survivors are pretty close to each other. I would be surprised if Fang wouldn't be too far away, and there's a reset on Fang, so we have all three survivors back up again. Alan being found on the back sort of section of Shack here and that, and Fang being found shortly after. Couldn't quite slip away with a very bright outfit here. I believe I may have just saw Fang potentially going down to the basement there. Very interested to see what she's up to down in that dangerous little spot.
Yeah,
And Claudette's been picked up.
I'm not sure if Albatross actually saw Fang go down there or not. Maybe Albatross just thought, yeah, I won't chase Fang down into the basement there. That's just going to waste a little bit of my time. But as we see, Claudette has just been downed again. Oh, Fung
We have a
trying to
crouch tag.
crouch. Yes, unfortunately, not quite pulling through with that though. So we now have two survivors slugged again, a third one being slugged, and the Zarina is the only survivor left up at the moment. My correction. The
Claudette gets picked up.
Claudette just gets picked up just as we say that.
It is a very dangerous situation to be in, though, being injured and the last survivor up at the moment. It looks like Fang's now being picked up, but that does mean Albatross does know where our final two survivors are, so it'll be interesting to see if they slip away. Alan now gets picked up, though, so they're managing this slug pressure very, very well. It looks like our Claudette's been found again and gets down, so we're back down to two slugs on the ground, and that was two injured survivors. Still probably not the most ideal position for our survivor team here to be in that, but they're handling
Absolutely.
this very, very well.
And as we see as well, Albatross is running Ruin, so well, Ruin and Undying with Thanatophobia. So Thanatophobia causing slower progress on heals, and then Ruin Undying, not only Undying for a little bit of aura assistance there, but then also to protect Ruin just that little bit as well. So any progress, these survivors haven't been able to actually progress on generators. Like any little bit of progress they did have on generators would unfortunately now be gone because of Ruin still being in play.
And it is so tough with Thana having all 4 survivors injured a lot of the time, it seems, throughout this match to really get any form of progress back onto their side, since typically you'd want to have minimum of at least 1 survivor healthy so that you're not giving Thana's full power with that extra, I believe it's 12% to hindering all of your actions, but Albatross has done a really good job here to make sure that all 4 survivors are, for most parts, always injured, and that to get the most value out of Thana with Ruin on the side, just to try and regress the progress that, if they have any, have been made in that. But it seems that a tie win onto the win condition may be popping up here, unless we potentially have a Deliverance play. But with only, I believe, 2 hook stages, it's a question if Deliverance is in play, if they were able to get that unhook for Deliverance to be in play. 1 on hook, 3 slugged. A very good performance by both teams here again, and such an explosive first match of the sets. And I believe we've had a bleed out here come through as well, so
Yeah, and with that bleed out, actually, the bleed out, I believe that was our Zarina. Our Zarina was one of our fresh hooks. So
that could
that actually
definitely.
secures a set one win for rushes because of the fresh bleed out penalty there.
And we've had a second bleed out as well. That's unfortunate that for it to be at least a tie to the win con has been completely lost due to a bleed out. The Slayer was doing a good job just to try and disappear and deny those hooks for the points in that. Very well done by the Russia team here in that to actually end up securing this first round with the bleed outs.
Or is the Allen
Alan didn't
going
fall
to
into
be
the
a no? Unfortunate. I thought the Allen might be able to make it into the hatch there, but Albatross catching John Wick. Oh, yeah, catching John Wick off guard that little bit. So that secures a 4k4, but with the fresh bleed out, that secures set one win for rushes. I believe our next set is going to be a Billy set,
I'm
which
excited for that one, Jen.
I'm excited for it too. And with that, we are going to be back after a very short intermission um, into Ashura killing first for their Billy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to match one of set two. We currently have Demon X, who is killing for Ashura. This is our Billy set. Welcome back, Ghosty. How are we feeling about this set?
Thank you very much, Jen. I'm very, very excited for this set and I'm hoping for some really, really quick plays in that. A lot of saw action in that. With a down like that very quickly on the unfortunate no Mither player, I don't think the saw was very needed. Got the good old whack with that beautiful frost hammer in that. And our first hook coming through pretty quickly into the match, so we'll see where Team X decides to take the Bills to after that. Finding Claudette, a little bit out of position there, close to the hook, but at a pretty relatively safe pallet, but a very clean curve. An unfortunate pallet drop means a down on Claudette. But our No Mither gamer has been unhooked. Very surprised that we see No Mither in a Billy set, but at the same time, with Billy's very heavy snowball potential, I see that being a very valid choice in that sense. Billy's 9 times out of 10, especially the more experienced ones, will most likely use their store over going for the M1s. I'm interested to see where we go with engravings being used as one of his add-ons as well on that for that very high speed power. Our Nomad of the game unfortunately going down again with an unfortunate firecracker miss. But it does mean that our John Wick can get out of there pretty scot-free and get our Claudette back into the game with a pull on Claudette. I am noticing something though, Jen, some familiar names that I am spotting here. I believe that this is actually potentially your team that might be playing in this current game here.
Yes, it is. So, as a few people may or may not actually realize, I am the captain of Russia's, and I was so thankful that I actually got the opportunity to be able to like co-cast the recording of this match with you. That really, yeah, really,
It's
really
always a
makes my
pleasure.
day.
It's a pleasure always having the opportunity to co-cast with you, Jen. It's always a good time in that, but you can definitely see that feeling of thankfulness that you do get to cast these games as well, especially with being the captain of the Russia team here and that. It seems like you guys are having a little bit of a rough match here at the moment, that with a very high amount of pressure being put on by Demon X here and that, but I also feel like you guys are managing pretty well, considering that from memory, you guys are a bit more newer to the comp scene and that. So for a first time run, I think you guys are doing pretty well here. A bit rough with having two on hook here at 5 gens here, and an unfortunate death hook on your No Mither gamer and that. What was the mind state with No Mither, by the way? Was it to stop a potential four-man slug snowball, or what was the game plan with No Mither?
So, no Mither in comp, no Mither is a staple for Billy matches, as Billy does have quite a lot of slug potential. So, having a person on no Mither um, kind of helps that situation a little bit more if the killer like isn't quite keeping up with like remembering exactly who the no mither person is if they do decide to try and go for like a 3 or 4 man slug. You'll see no mither being used in pretty much almost every Billy set, to be honest.
Very good information there for anyone that might be viewing that might be a little bit newer to the scene. If you know that you might be versing the Billster in that, make sure to have one of your more confident survivors running No Mither just to prevent the potential of a 3 to 4 man slug. As we see the chase being taken at Shack, pallet being dropped, a very much safe pallet, but got to use it sometimes. It looks like our No Mither game might be going down here, unfortunately, so this will be our first survivor unfortunately leaving the trial at 5 gens. The reset on Claudette, and I noticed that our lovely John Wick before had For the People, which was a very strong, quick reset there. And now having two survivors, and I believe we see our lovely co-cast here initiating her first chase against Billy. And I can only imagine how tough it may be versing a Billy with a trackpad, because I believe you're a trackpad gamer, Jen.
Yes, I am. So, due to only having like bare minimum kind of function of my right arm, I do have to use a trackpad during games. So, going against killers like Billy with very high mobility, instant down, same as like killers like Unknown, it is very difficult. So if you see me running around not looking behind me during chase, you kind of know the reason why.
I'd say it's a very unfortunate handicap for you, but I've seen you perform before. You do give off good performances, even though it seems like we've had a very unfortunate corner cut off here and that with a very cute look up like, please don't do it to me, Mr. Billy, but the Billy's taking no prisoners today in this set, and it looks like John Wick has been found. A very nice window ball there. I'm very surprised that that was not a grab. Does he make it back through the window again? He doesn't take the window, but with that generator being in the middle of Shack, it is a lot more easier to loop a Billy compared to if that generator wasn't in there. But our John Wick has gone down, unfortunately, so we'll have to see how our Claudette player responds to this in a very, very sticky situation in that. Also being injured, so if Demon X decides that he doesn't want to use the saw. One Frosty Hammer hit will secure this match and tuck it away in that for the books. Claudette doing a very good job not to get found here and that, to potentially be the finisher of the game here and that. I'm sure the team is wishing that the No Mither game was around at this point in time, because it would probably be very helpful right now to have that self pickup. Looks like Billy might be
Definitely.
coming in. The Claudette comes through for the pickup, but it doesn't go through. Oh no! I don't think much more would have been able to be done if Claudette managed to get that pickup on you and that, but let's see. I think that was, we do have though an unbreakable from the mighty John Wick comes through here on that. That could potentially at least bring it back so that you guys may or may not get potentially a gen done, but with Billy knowing both where John Wick is and unfortunately where you are, I think this might be a potential 4K at 5. Was there any thoughts about how you could potentially recover this or even potentially get two of you back into this game, or was the thoughts that this may be it and might be a hatch play at this point?
Yeah, we at this point were thinking, look, we may as well just try and see how we go, like if we can get a hatch play or not, or even if we're able to get like an unhook and just get progress on at least one generator to make it a little bit easier for our killer uh, to play the next match. And but as we knew, going against Aashura was going to be an extremely difficult feat because of how good Aashura are. Like they are an amazing, very very top team. So us going against a very very good team for like our very first tournament as well, it was difficult. It was very very difficult.
I think you guys have managed it pretty well in that. You kept the nerves pretty well intact in that, even with all the odds against you. Our John Wick has been very stealthy here, looking at potentially the hatch play happening in that. Billy kind of just looking around to see if maybe they do decide to come in for an unhook on you and that, but I think the hatch play is a shout. Oh no, I've eaten my words. John Wick says, no way, I'm not letting my team captain go that early. We are still in this. We are not backing down. We're never giving up. As John Wick decides to take the chase, good little curve there. Has to be careful of those cars though, because I believe on this map, some of those cars can be very lethal on Billy, and that with some pretty nasty zero hitbox techs that you can do that I've seen a few of my friends actually do, and I can't not say that I haven't been gotten with myself in that. And I think I saw a potential plot twist play. That could be very good to potentially bring things back. I don't know if Billy will just hook here. He does grab his hook there. Knows that Unbreakable has been used, so our John Wick wouldn't be able to pick himself up, but at this point, securing that kill, making his way over towards the hatch to make sure that no hatch plays can happen in that, so I'll be interested to see if a gate play can be done here and that with such a high mobility killer like Billy. Making sure that saw stays up and that, try and scare you off in that. Still feathering though. I am honestly surprised we don't have a close right now, especially with the bar being so low. That could have been a very quick let go of the feather and then close. So I'm wondering if he's maybe trying to do a bit of a bait here. But I don't think anyone would be overly confident trying to do a hatch standoff against a Billy and that, even before the buffs to the beautiful blue saw. Might also just be trying to build up that overheat so that he knows once the hatch is closed, there is almost no chance of not getting to the gate that's needed in that. And we do see a very good door set for Demon X here. Not too far away from each other, potentially has line of sight on both, so as much as this is a tragic loss to see a friend go, I am very, very skeptical that a gate play could be done here. If we had some better door spawns, quite possibly in that. Billy's decided he's going to collect some wood in that.
Yeah,
Plus
the
50 wood.
the door spawns definitely good position for Demon X. He literally all he has to do is just turn 180 and he can view the doors perfectly. Very very tough situation to actually be in as a survivor going against like this particular kind of door setup as well.
even with an A tech, I don't think that it would be a very feasible thing. I think this might be a secured game. I don't know if entity kills do treat themselves like bleed outs, but still, this has been a very good performance for Demon X on Billy to start things off with the Billy rounds, but also, I feel like you guys did pretty damn well considering that you guys are versing a very experienced team here, and against a high mobility killer like Billy and that, it's a little bit rough. You've decided it's time, it looks like. Billy comes along in that. Almost invisible. Gives you a little love tap with the hammer and that. Let's see if he can do a nice little curve here. No. He decides that it's time. The sword's coming out. Plus 50 Nia to finish off our first round of the Billy sets. But honestly, I think you guys should be very proud. With the matchup that you guys got, I think you guys have done pretty well this time round.
Absolutely. And like going against such a strong team, like we knew that we had our work cut out for us, and we knew just how good Demon X actually is on Billy as well. So our initial plan going into it was okay, we need to try and get as many gens done as we possibly can, but as you saw, we didn't even get a singular one done.
It was
Demon,
unfortunate.
yeah, Demon is just far too good. Like, he's far too good.
We love a strong Billy.
But with that, we are going to be moving into a very short intermission, so that way we can see how our killer Morgan goes on Billy next.
Very excited.
And welcome back to match 2 of set 2. We have Morgan on Billy for rushes at the moment. Unfortunately, very, very steep win con, as we saw with the last match, Demon X managing to get a 4K at 5. How do you think Aashura's survivors are going to go with this match?
I do feel like Aashura is going to be probably very heavily pressuring the generators, potentially double stacking some to try and get that early gen pop to deny Morgan that win con. So I feel like they have a very tough game coming up for them in that against a very strong team with a strong performance so far. So I'll be very interested to see how Morgan goes handling this and what their thought or play would be in that. It seems like in our first chase here, our Nomad the Gamer is playing it very safe, heavy with the pallet pre-drops and that. Unfortunate bump there on the little junk pile on that. An unfortunate swing at the window, and the first gen has popped, unfortunately. It does mean that WinCon has been met, so we'll have to see how the rest of the match goes here and that, but with such an seemingly impossible WinCon to hit, it was going to be so difficult for Morgan to be able to bring this back and at least try and tie that sort of a performance and the win for that. Ace doing a very good job here playing this tile and that, knowing that they don't have the extra health state for anyone here, but we get our first down here and that. Good first chase from the Ace here, but still well done by Morgan to start things off in that.
And as we
We will
know, with Ashura managing to get that generator done, that does bring us into the tiebreaker, which the tiebreaker is Nurse, I'm pretty sure. Um, ooh, we catch out the.
Claudette.
I was almost going to call her Zarina for some reason.
I've made that mistake many times myself in that, and a few of the previous times I've done casting out with Survivor mix-ups and that. Especially very similar looking characters with the stealthy sort of style clothing that, not trying to send out too much in that. We'll have to see how Claude plays this tile. Doing a very good job with it so far. Not having to rely on, I think the pallet that should be at that tile somewhere, if not taking full advantage of the windows. I was wrong, there is no pallet tile, but taking advantage of that tile and that. A little bit of a taunting there at the window and that, bit of fair play there and that. Another gen has popped in the background now, we do notice in that, as the chase continues on Claudette. Unfortunately, losing chase here as well, so that window, I believe, can be used another 3 more times, which is very unfortunate. We do have the chase picking back up. A very clean fake there on the window as well on that. It's beautiful work done here by this window, by the Claudette here and that. We'll have to see how Morgan handles this tile on that. Bringing out the saw, but gets an unfortunate bump on the window there. Claudette deciding to stick in this loop, even with one of the windows, if not both windows, blocked. Playing it very smart and very patiently in that. Another big swing there, not connecting that, so it looks like Morgan will be deciding to leave the Claudette there. As our third gen pops by Shaq. We do find the ace though with no Mitre, so this could potentially be a bit more of an easier and quicker down here, as we got a filler pallet here to play around in that. Trying to walk to get rid of the chase. Our fourth gen now popping in the corner, as Morgan decides to take it into the main building and clearing that door and that for a bit more easy access to make it look a bit less safe, but the ace does have this filler pallet here to play around. An unfortunate hit into the pallet, another addition of, we'll go plus 50 wood there. As he wraps back into main. Morgan finding the Claudette here. Oh, sorry, this is a Nancy actually, my mistake. The final gen is popped as Nancy makes it into the window. A very rough match for Morgan, unfortunately, even though they've done very well today under the circumstances and against the team that they're versing in that. We seem to be back onto Claudette now. Got another relatively safe power to play in that. Another 50 wood gathered here in that. I love the joke with the wood against Billy in that. Pallet now going down, forcing Claudette to take the chase into main. Nancy kind of lurking around, just a little bit of support here, even though it can be very dangerous to try and hit take against the Billy. And Nancy will be our next down here by main. Maybe before the people play? Yes, it is. Well played here by Aashura on that. Nancy taking the endurance hit here. And I believe that gate has progress. Yes, it does. Nancy oh, good dodge there by Nancy. I'm honestly surprised that that sword did not hit, but Nancy will go down here on that, close to the exit gate. Another tag, a tag onto Fang here, which is very good here and that, trying to give Nancy some time to recover or potentially crawl towards the exit gate to try and force a pickup. Fang's been forced out here, it looks like. And the beamer being taken with it, so I don't think a beamer safe can happen here. And with only our no Mither, Gamer being alive and Claudette being broken due to 4 of the people, unless a pallet safe can come here, there I don't think will be any saving the Nancy here. But with the win condition being met already in that, it's still been a very strong performance here. I believe Morgan will just be very happy to secure their kill here, which they do as the other 2 leave in that. Unfortunate round for our Russia team here, but I still think a very good performance regardless in that, considering still relatively new to the scene and under the odds in that, I still feel Morgan done their best and hopefully had a good time with this regardless in that. Was there any other thoughts, Jen, about what could have been done that game, or was it just one of those, it was such a hard win con to hit?
Yeah, it was a very very strong, very steep win con, um, for Morgan to try and reach there, and Ashura's survivors, they were just keeping the pressure with the generators, and their check spots and that just kept dragging out those chases that little bit too long, unfortunately for Morgan. But all things considered, very very steep win con. It was a near impossible feat to try and get that. So both teams played really really well here. But with that, we are going to be moving into a very short intermission before we get onto our tiebreaker, which will be Nurse. And we will be seeing Rush's killing on Nurse first. And welcome back, everyone, to match 1 of our tiebreaker set. As we see, Russia's has taken out the first set win. Aashura takes out the second set win. So now we are on to our Nurse tiebreaker, with a Hong on killer for Russia's first. Ghosty, how do we think that this match is going to go?
Well, with being Nurse for our set this time around, it could be anything on the table here. Nurse being one of, if not still, the strongest killer currently in the game, being able to just ignore so many in-game mechanics and that. This game could be potentially anything for us to see today, with Adam being our first down here and an also early tag on Fang as well. You definitely don't want to be injured against a Nurse in this sort of setting, that let alone ever on that. And Corrupt going down, good early value in that with finding people that early, so we've had some good usage there, and a very good build here with synergy-wise with Thana, Ruin, and Undying all active. Keep those gens regressing when they're not being worked on, and Thana to help reduce that pace a little bit, slow things down a little bit. Very good blink through the wall here for a tag on Ace here and that by a Hong.
That was such a
As we'll start
beautiful
our next
hit.
chase. I wish I could do little blink hits like that. And another very clean blink through the wall there. Looked like he was going to go for the locker there to try and avoid it and get the Nurse into a fatigue, but it didn't quite work out. Seems to have found out Adam here, so we'll be slugging the Ace to go for his tunnel out here potentially. No, not committing to the chase. Looking maybe to get some more Thana injures happening here to try and slow those gens down a little bit in that. We'll probably be seeing a reset on Ace soon, and we have a plot twist in the corner. Very smart play against Nurse, considering that if there's not a close enough hook, that potentially could be a wiggle off with Nurse being one of the slower walking killers in that. So Ahong decides that they're not going to really look at that too much, and they're going to go secure their hook onto Ace here. But they do let go of their Adam, which was potentially their tunnel target. So Ahong deciding I'm not going to let the full health state or wait. Nope, does go for that pick. We'll be securing that extra hook and that onto the Fang here, and we'll have to see if a reset happens on Adam shortly. If not, if they're going to pressure the hook save on Ace, but with two very close hooks here, it's going to be very tough to safely get those unhooks and that while trying to get some gen progress going as well. It looks like Fang has just been unhooked now, so we know where two survivors are at the moment, so I'd presume that Ace will be getting unhooked relatively shortly. Yep, there it is, and that. So we have all four survivors back in this. Ada being found at the pallet, good patience, but as much as we love our pallets and they're usually very safe, as a Nurse, they're never safe in that when Nurse can just simply blink straight through. Very good play there to dodge the flashbang behind there mid-blink. I do miss being able to burn Nurses out of their power and that. Bit of a unfortunate nerf that the developers put out
That was
a while
such,
ago.
yeah, and that was such a beautiful flick that Ahong just got on the Ada just then around the tree on Edge map. That was great. As we
Such good control.
see, Ahong is back on the Adam, downing Adam. So now we've got Ada and Adam on the ground. Ada has just been picked back up. Ace is the only full health survivor.
It is good though that they have at least one person healthy though, as we know you never want four people injured with Thana in playing that, because that's when that extra slowdown really kicks in and it becomes very hard to get some gen progress and that going in that. Our second heal on Fang, so we at least have two healthy survivors here. Ada might be getting reset as well, so we may have potentially three fully healed survivors, which will be a pretty good position to be in. Fang being found as our first generator does pop, so not a bad start for the team here. Fang does get put down, and we have a save and for the people play on Adam here, which is a very strong play to go. Even though it does mean that the health states don't trade, at least we know that our tunnel target has that bit of extra relief if our Ahong here on Nurse does find them again. And with the second gen popping, I think they're not doing too bad under the circumstances. An
Ooh.
unfortunate blink there on the wall that gets caught up in that, but Ada's not in the greatest spot. And a quick look down there to put her back onto the ground in that. Looks to be leaving her slug to see where he wants to go next. the control that Ahong's been showing on Nurse today has been very good so far. I could never see myself being able to stay so controlled and precise with blinks as Nurse, as much as she is definitely still probably the strongest killer in the game, is very hard to manage those blinks sometimes, especially since you need to be able to blink to play that killer. Do we feel like the pressure's definitely on at the moment, Jen, or do you feel like the survivors are slowly starting to claw their way back out of this?
I think the survivors like they're still keeping fairly good pressure here as well as we see the Fung drop down for a plot twist play. And swapping around earlier, we saw that Demon X was sitting on the generator trying to get some extra generator progress there to make the to get their team as much points as possible.
As we know, in most Nurse games, you're normally never going to get more than 3 people out, so as many gens done as possible will be really good here, just to try and make that win con a bit more manageable going into the next round and that. And we do have all 4 survivors up currently, 3 healed, which is very good for countering Thana's slowdown power here. Ada has been found for a quick tag there behind the rock along edge map there, so we do have 2 stacks of Thana up and running again at the moment. And our tunnel target has been found here, so we'll have to see if Ahong decides to commit to this chase, or if he goes back to try and maybe get those injured survivors pressurized a bit more there. Good attempt there running into the nurse. If you don't know, and being safe with it, running into the nurse can be a very smart way to counter her blink in that when she's full charge to try and make the distance. But unfortunately, Adam will be going down. Decides to leave him slugged though, so maybe wanting to not give up on more gen pressure at the moment in that, since he could kill Adam out of the game right now with a hook and make it a 3v1 at 3 gens, but deciding he wants to apply a bit more pressure towards the generators and that to maybe deny another one popping in that to drop us to 2 gens with 4 survivors. Gets the down on Ace as Adam does get picked back up, so I'd like to see if a reset happens on him or if they decide to more pressure the generators. Fang gets found here. Ada has been healed.
Oh,
A
beautiful
very
hit
good
there.
tagger as well. It's amazing some of these really precise blink hits that Ahong's been giving us today in that. And down on Fang towards the middle of the map sort of area. Probably the best spot you want to be in that. You don't really want to be on those edge map sort of areas in that, especially having to slow walk to the hook without Agi as well. And Fang will be our first one leaving us in the trial today. Beginning our 3v1 at 3 generators remaining. Ruin is still up, unfortunately, so the survivors are going to have a very rough time keeping that gen progress up higher or completing these generators. And with one being dead, we do have to not worry about Thana's 4th stack slowdown anymore, which will definitely probably help the surviving team here a bit. And with 1 healthy as well, it is only 2 stacks, so I believe it's only a 4% slowdown, which can be manageable in that. I'm just wondering though, if was 2 injured in that, if they get found, or if we get our 3rd injured, do you reckon that the generators are going to be getting much more progress, Gen, or do we feel like that 3 gens may still be remaining by the end of this?
Well, I know that, like, as we know with Ashura, they are very, very strong. Their game plan, game sense is always really great. So I have a feeling that they might try and keep a little bit more pressure on the generators to try and make the win con that little bit easier for their killer going into the next match.
Ahong has been very smooth still with his blinks and that. Ada deciding to die comp corner, try and make it so that Nurse has a lot of walking to do on that, as our 3rd gen does pop, giving Ashura's killer probably a bit more of breathing space going into the 2nd round in that. It'll be good to see if they can get that at least 1 more gen done to make it a potential 4k at 1. Ada being our next fresh hook on hook as well, so we do have Adam on death hook, I believe Ace is on potentially Death Hook as well, and a fresh, at least one hook on Ada. So we do have some really good hook stages here in that regardless. And we're going to be getting into our next chase very shortly as well, it looks like. And it's with Adam, so we may be losing another survivor as well. So I would assume that Rushers will be looking at trying to get that Ada off hook as soon as possible, try and get a few more resets in. No, Ace's Society would want to get the gem pressure up, which is still a very smart play. Adam has managed to get the unhook on Ada and a very fast reset there, so I believe Adam will also be reset very shortly. And that was Ace's first hook, so I was marginally wrong. We have two people now on Death Hook with Ada being on first. And we'll have to see if they continue the letting go of health states and hooks for gen pressure, which I think has done them very well so far against the Hong's nurse so far in that. Looks to be Adam has decided to stay injured in that, so has probably decided to get straight back onto the generator and that, try and get another gen to pop. The Hong seems to be just kind of patrolling around, making sure that they don't get a free unhook on Ace, and they may just let him go fully. Was that actually is getting reset here? So it looks like we may be going into a 2v1 with two full health survivors. No, I've eaten my words. The pull has just happened. I'm straight back onto it. Deciding to leave the Ace, which I find interesting, but it could be just to try and force whoever came for the unhook on Ace to not get free pressure on that fairly high progress gen, even with Ruin up. Doesn't want to give him another gen quite for free. Ada playing a smart play there by jumping into locker. A very good attempt with the dead hard there. But Ada will be going down. Still checking that high progress gen, make sure no one snuck back up on it. Has found some blood, so this will be our Ace. Taking it to edge map and shortly going down after, so it's down to Adam if he can potentially get around to either popping another gen or getting one of his teammates back up, or a possible unbreakable play, but we'll have to find out. I would assume they might be probably going for that last gen over by where Ada went down to maybe get that popped. So then worst case, it will be a 4K at 1, which is still a very strong performance by the survivors against such a strong killer as Nurse. Adam has been found here by Shaq. And he's pushing towards what looks to be the Ada pickup. Does get Ada. Looks to be trying to get the attention of the Nurse. Doesn't want the Nurse to commit to Ada here and that's just instantly redown her. But with all three injured, it's going to be very rough for him to try and pull this back. Adam now going down, and with a Hong knowing roughly the last location of the Ada, I don't think there'll be much more left in for the Survive team, even though they've pulled off a brilliant performance here. And with Ada being found, this is probably the end of it. Oh, very close swing there. I think Ada will be taking it back towards Shackway in that, but gets the pickup on Ace. Very well done, but with Nurse that close, there was nowhere for him to go. Ahong turns his attention now towards the Ada. Gets caught up on a tree, but a nasty flick there. Almost connects as well. Such precise control over the Nurse. Definitely someone that's put some time into this killer, and that, as people say, it's not the easiest killer to play, but very well done as Ada does go down, potentially securing the 4K at 2, but definitely a doable win con here. I'll be very excited to see how rushes go on the Survivor team going forward into the next round. I'll be very interested to see how they perform against a very strong killer and also a potential very strong player and see what their game plan is moving forward in that. Do you feel like their chances are pretty high, Jen, or do you feel like it might be a bit of a rough next game for them?
Honestly, it could go either way. To be completely honest, like as we see, it's a 4K at 2. Uh, a Hong noticing that Hatch spawns inside Shack on this map. the amount of times that I've gone to the opposite, like the closed window to try and close hatch, and I've completely forgotten that it that it spawns inside.
One of the
Um,
rain maps that it does spawn inside on.
it has caught me out on numerous occasions.
Wouldn't be the first.
Yeah, but with it being a 4K2, honestly, it could go either way. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see just exactly what happens with our next match with Ashura on Killer and Rushes on Survivor. I'm not quite sure what Hong is waiting for here.
I am a little bit confused here, as I'm pretty sure he would know where the Ada is and could just close hatch, but could also, I would say, normally you would expect maybe they might be waiting out adrenaline, but I believe
Potentially.
adrenaline is normally banned for most parts in most games that I've seen so far, so there's a chance that it might have been not allowed, but still a very good performance by a Hong and by a Shura team, Saliva team this time around, so I'm excited to see how the next round goes.
Absolutely. And with that, we are going to be going into a very short intermission before we swap on over to Ashura on Killer with Rushes on Survivor. And welcome back, everyone, to match two of our tiebreaker for Rushes vs. Ashura. We currently have Sharpie on Killer at the moment for Ashura. Welcome back, Ghosty. How do you think that Rush's survivors are going to go against Sharpie on Ashura?
Thank you very much, Jen. It's going to be probably a bit of a difficult game for him, being obviously a very strong killer with a very strong gamer backing it up and holding the reins. So I'll be very interested to see how Rushes handles this match going forward. Not so rough of a win con from Elias. 4K at 2 is a very feasible result and doable for the team here and that. So my hopes are, I'm hoping that they will do pretty well within that, and we'll have to see how they perform under the pressure in that. Being a tiebreaker set, the nerves will probably be there, and the pressure is definitely going to be on. But Ahong has given them a good chance here with a very surgical performance previously in that. So we'll have to see how the team manages against Sharpie here and that, who has gotten his first hook relatively early on with a very quick chasing down. A very unfortunate swing there and that with a quick blink through the wall on that. Still love how nurses are able to do these broken sort of mechanics and that, and
That was a
the
beautiful hit.
controls are so good with a beautiful hit. I agree there. I feel like that tile is one of the more safer ones against the nurse, with so many line of sight blockers in that. Very sort of edge of the map sort of area, away from a lot of the main gens that will probably be getting worked on at the moment. And Zarina will be our second hook stage here. Eruption being applied to that corner gen, so we'll see if that pops up a bit later on for some regression in that.
Paul
And
of
also, I
Brine
think
as
I was about
well.
to mention Caller Brian also is a very interesting choice in that. You don't tend to see that anymore after the nerfs that they gave it, but it looks like we have a few gens with really good progress, one of which are popping now. So we have our first gen popped after 2 hook stages. Not a bad start for Team Russia here on that. An unfortunate missile with a very well-timed sprint burst by Fang. Does get tagged, but that was very well done to not pre-run earlier and allowing Nurse just to fire up that blink and follow immediately after. So very, very well done by Fang there to be very patient and hold that sprint burst until the Nurse was right on them and that going for a swing. Has made a lot of distance as well, it seems like. Making it to that filler pallet and making it so that that second blink definitely cannot cut through. Taking it back to this jungle gym. Oh, an unfortunate short blink there. I don't think our nurse will probably stick to this chase for too much longer, or may want to just commit to the pressure with our second gen now popping. The win con looking a little bit more closer now. With only 2 hook stages, Rosh is doing a great job this far into the match. Do you think that they'll be able to hold up this sort of pressure throughout the match, Jen? They're doing an incredible job so far.
Yeah, so far they are doing really well. Ooh, that was a beautiful FOV. The Zarina, I should say, made against our nurse here just then.
Very well played in that to make Sharpie here blink back to the inside of the tile here while going around in that, giving a good amount of time there, but very well executed.
Ooh, unfortunate
Blocked up by
short
the big
blink.
rocks again. We hear Jen in the corner does have good progress as well, so they're not doing too bad right now under the circumstances. I'm very impressed by the Russia team here and that. Zarina finally going down, an eruption procking on, I believe, that corner gen, so that would have lost some progress, unfortunately, but there are a few gens that do have some good progress on them so far, so the team's doing very well to keep that gen pressure up and getting closer and closer to that potential win con. I still think it's very possible, and they're making it very hard for Sharpie here and that. Another gen that was eruption before, back to very high progress, but we'll see how much that gen loses with Call of Brian eating away at it now. Unhook on Zarina happens, so we know where two of our team survivors are at the moment. Fang also on another very high progress gen, so they have two, I'd say roughly 80. Oh, the corner gen gone down to 50, but that was roughly probably 80%. But another gen due to pop soon, so we might be at the win con almost with two gens remaining soon, and Call of Brian given the notifications with its update that Solara is working on the gen, and our third gen has popped. And as we know, there are still gens with very high progress. This potentially could be a win con taken for Team Rushers in that. Nurse leaving the chase, going to check on that Call of Brian gen that was notifying, hey, I need some support, I'm being worked on. Very high progress on this gen. Looks like it was very close to pop. I think Rushers could potentially take this match. The fourth gen has popped. Team Rushers have done it. They've hit the win con. Fourth gen pops and our last gen is remaining, and that they've actually successfully done it against the nurse. An unfortunate misblink there. Holy god. I did not expect them to actually be able to pull this off with such a strong killer and player playing it. I'm dumbfounded. I've lost my words. I don't know what to say to this.
Rushers have done
John,
so well so far. Being able to pop all five generators.
fifth gen
No deaths.
popping?
Yeah, no deaths just yet. Yeah, this is an absolute like amazing match result.
The last thing I was expecting to see today was 5 gens being completed with all 4 survivors being up, and I think that was some. We have a gate open. There's no way. Do we potentially have a 4 out here against the. No, I think it looks like we will be doing the typical 3-man out against us. But wait, we have a deli play. I think Sharpie didn't realize that deli's gone off. I think we've done the impossible. Have we just we've 4 out a nurse? Oh my god, they've done the impossible. They'd be ecstatic about that. What? Oh my god, what is that? What did I just witness?
What an
That is
amazing
incredible.
result. That was such an amazing result. Both teams played absolute phenomenally. And with that, that secures the Russians actually taking out that match win 2-1 against Ashura, which, as we know, Ashura being a very good, like high reputation, well known team, they have done amazing going against not only going against EU Ping, but also going against a really tough team, especially with Russia's being a, quite a new team as a whole. I think both teams played absolute phenomenally.
I think I agree with you 100%, Jen. Both teams have done a massively well done performance today. We've had a beautiful, what looks to be an underdog story here, and the Russians have come out of nowhere and taken the entire set for themselves in that with an amazing performance in that final game, and overall amazing performances on both sides throughout this entire match and set. So I'm lost for words, so I don't even know what to say to this. Like, well done to both teams. Amazing job to Team Rushes, amazing job to Ashura. Absolutely amazing performance by you all in that. It's been a pleasure being here with you, Jen, and amazing to watch these amazing games.
Thank you so much for being my co-caster. It is always a pleasure co-casting with you, and it was great fun being able to actually cast that matchup with you.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you very much.
And until next time, guys, that concludes our matchup for Rushes versus Shira, with Rushes taking 2 sets to Ashura taking 1.